This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and this is going to be a very interesting interview today. I have a guest all the way from Italy, which I don't know very much about the wrestling from Italy, other than they're doing a huge show in Bruno Sammartino, the living legend himself. Well, he's not living anymore, but that was his name when he was alive, WWE Hall of Famer. And they're doing a show in the hometown of Bruno Sammartino as a tribute to Bruno. This is one of the company's biggest stars, Fabio Ferrari. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh man, great to be here. Hello everybody, and I've been doing great, and thanks for inviting me because for us, for Italy, it's a very important occasion. This show is something we were working on for years because we wanted to pay tribute to I would say not probably the biggest wrestling legend we have in our country. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's safe to say that Bruno is the most famous wrestler from Italy. This is the poster for your event. What is the company called? Because I don't think I can pronounce it properly.
Well, the company has an Italian name, which is FIW, which means Federazione Italiana Wrestling, which basically is Italian Wrestling Federation. That's the in English, that's what it means. But we wanted to be the company wanted to be like more Italian and sound Italian, especially because the company work in the country, so we're not working outside.
Well, it sounds really cool when you say it to a guy like me because we don't have all that many Italians in Canada. I think there's more in the U.S. But you seem to get pretty big crowds. I was looking at your Facebook page of the company. How often do you guys run, and what is the average crowd? Because it looks like sometimes you get over 1,000.
Well, yeah, Italy, honestly, it's has a very big potential. But the thing is that in our country, it always been that way. We have like maybe few years when wrestling is going great, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, it disappears. Like, for example, we have two super great years in 2004 and 2005 when I just started to wrestle. And those 2 years, we had indie shows doing 11,000 people, and that was the biggest one. But for an indie show, it was amazing, especially for Italy. And the normal show in those years were indie again, 3,000s, 4,000s, 5,000s. So but just a couple of years, and then everything disappeared, and then we came back to 200s, and that was But yeah, now this year something is moving back again. There's a bit of media interest again in wrestling, and that's probably why also we had the chance to organize this big event for Bruno Sammartino. But basically that's Italy. It's well, Italy is just about football, so everything else is like maybe volleyball, basketball, the main sports, but everything else is. And wrestling, because we don't have a history about wrestling. Well, we had some wrestling in the 60s because when Primo Carnera came back from boxing and he went into wrestling, we had some shows there, but there's nothing, honestly. There's no videos, there's nothing. There's just memories, but ages ago. So we don't have history about wrestling. And when 20 years ago, a bunch of guys, and I was there. We were just fans, and we just, as backyarders, is bad to say it, but it is what it is. We never had any trainer, and that's when everything started, honestly, wrestling in Italy, because we never had anything. So,
So who was headlining that show that had 11,000 fans?
That show was headlined by AJ Styles against P.T. Williams, and it was 2005. And the rest of the card was just European wrestlers, the top European wrestlers at the time. And I was lucky to be there because honestly, I was super green and I was at the beginning of my career. And I was lucky I was there, and it was huge, amazing to work in a show like that.
I bet that's the only time P.D. Williams was in the main event of an 11,000 person show. That's incredible. And he's from Canada. I'm not taking anything away from him, but like that's impressive that a low card TNA guy would be in the main event of a show that big. I heard Vampiro was very popular there. Is that true?
Yeah, he was, because there was a company, and it was probably the biggest one in Italy, that was run by a guy that is a wrestling fan, but his job is to promote events. And this company is called New Wrestling Evolution, and it's coming back this year in October. They have another show, super big show in Naples with Nick Nemeth, Alberto Del Rio, Shelton Benjamin. They have so many big names, and Vampire is back again. And he was back in those days, 2004,
Wait a minute,
2005. This
isn't he
company.
retiring next month?
Sorry?
Isn't Vampiro supposed to be retiring next month in Mexico?
Is he? I don't know. I'm not.
I don't know. That's what
Is
they're
he?
saying.
Well, maybe he's retiring in Mexico, but like he is announced already for Italy for this October show. And this company was running very big shows with former WWE guys, and pretty big shows, and they're coming back. So that's another good thing about wrestling in Italy. WWE was here in Italy, in Bologna, in May. They sold out in 1 hour, 12,000 seats. So that was great, huge. And they announced, looks like it's official. I'm not sure about that, but looks like they're gonna do a premium live event in Italy next year. So something is moving, but we're into our show now. We're really pushing this Bruno Sammartino tournament because it's in his hometown, so it gives it more value about it, because it's a small town in the mountains of Italy, but hopefully there will be a lot of people. But again, we just want to celebrate our biggest star, because it's sad to say it, and it's kind of the same with Andre the Giant, which I have the T-shirt, but and in France, these guys in their hometown, they're not really well known. And Bruno, it's one of them. He was a legend in New York, in New Jersey, and in the United States, but I don't know why in Italy he never. I don't want to say nobody cared, but
Yeah, you're telling the truth, because I actually went out with a woman from France a couple of years ago, from Grenoble in the French Alps, where they always said Andre was from, and she had not even heard of Andre the Giant. And I'm thinking, how could you not hear of him if you're from where he's announced? So that's interesting, because I've seen the documentary of Bruno walking around that town and walking up the mountains where they had to hide from the Nazis and stuff back in those years. What can you tell us about that town itself?
Well, the town is pretty small. It's like back in those days, maybe 1,000 people. Nowadays, it's like 600, maybe 500 people lives there, but or maybe just have the house. I don't know, but it's very small. And the nice thing is that they have this mountain, this rock. It's called La Rocca, which is the rock, and it's where if you see the pictures of from the sky of the town, you can see the La Rocca really well, and that's where Bruno, well, his mother hid them from the Nazis before they moved to the United States. So Bruno was really, and I spoke to some. I obviously went to the town, and the mayor is a super Bruno fan, and he's the guy that made sure that Bruno came back the first time in 2000, the year 2000. He came back the first time, and they did a super party for him. They did a gym for him. They did many stuff, and I was there. I was lucky. I was there, and I met Bruno. I was young. I was 17 back then, so I knew nothing about wrestling. I was just a fan, and I wasn't wrestling yet. And still, the mayor of the town made sure that Bruno came back in 2018 when they did the statue. So he's the guy that did all that stuff, and he's the one that pushed for the tournament. So and I went there obviously for to see, because he had the Bruno belt. He has like a little museum in the city hall, and he's planning to do a proper museum there. But it's fun because I was talking to some old ladies, old people from there, and they remember Bruno, and they told me stories before he left for the United States. And everybody told me, oh, he was a skinny guy, he wasn't very healthy. And it's kind of strange to hear that about Bruno, because when he went to the US, he became huge, super big, super powerful, and he became what he was. And he did so many great stuff in professional wrestling. And every Italian fan is super proud when the name Bruno Sammartino came out. But I live in Abruzzo, which is the region where Bruno was born. And as you said about that girl from Grenoble, nobody knows Bruno. If you ask somebody, I would say 80% of the people don't know him, and it makes me mad.
Well, that's great. The family, I'm sure the family is very happy that you're promoting his name there. Have you been in much contact with his family?
Well, the family looks like there's nobody left. Sad to say, but there's nobody left in the town. There's some Sammartino in that lives in other region, but they're not really involved, because the last close um, um, that Sammartino that he died a few years ago with the COVID and stuff. So hopefully some family will be there. We don't know yet, but we're pushing for advertising the show and everything. So hopefully someone will be there. But the town in general, they're proud of Bruno, because when you get into the town, you see Bruno everywhere, because there's a plaque about where he used to live. There's the statue, which is really big and really, it's great. And in the city hall, they have the whole WWF belt, and they have some, articles, magazines, and stuff. So everybody and everybody in the town is super happy that we're doing something about Bruno, because they feel like we're celebrating one of them, and they know the story about Bruno. So, it's great.
I have to ask you what you think about Santino. Santino, I guess, would have been the most recent WWE Italian heritage wrestler who was more of a comedy act than like a noble superstar. But he still was over, and he's still in TNA to this day. But what's the sentiment towards Santino? I guess he grew up in Canada, though, maybe. So
Yeah, as far as I know, he's not really Italian. I mean, he has probably some, I don't know, maybe and probably grandparents from Italy. But as far as I know, he can't even speak Italian. He learned something, and he just, acted and pretended to be Italian. It worked for him. So, I don't feel bad, because I do understand that the Italian is seen like sometimes is portrayed with with the what everybody thinks about Italy. So in a comedy way, and if it works, and if it's good for the workers, why not? Still, as I said, when we think about Italy, and we're proud of Bruno because he did what he did, and well, Santino was, well, at least Italy was there. Let's say this way.
Yeah, what about Salvatore Sincere? Do I dare ask about him?
But I think so many different levels used their the maybe they were Italian grandmother or whatever, and they used it because it's it's different, but it's all right. We basically from Italy we never had anybody, because as I said, yeah, the history of Italian wrestling is very, it's just 20 years, but we started as backyarders, so we kind of the first 10 years was pretty rough. We never had any proper trainer. I moved to the UK to train with one of the British legend, which is Marty Jones, and honestly, about me, I traveled the world. I traveled in 25 different countries for wrestling, and I'm super happy with what I've done. But it's thanks to Marty Jones, Tom LaRuffa, which is one of my mentor, and he was a WWE superstar for 5 years in NXT for as Sylvester Lefort. And when I started working for Brian Dixon in the UK, you probably heard the name. He's one of the
Oh yeah, I
biggest
wrestled for
promoter
him briefly.
in
Yeah,
the world. He used to be. You know him, right?
he just died. Yeah,
Yeah, he died. He died recently, and it was really bad because he was the last super promoter in Europe. You can really. I remember when I worked for him the first time. He told me, "If you learn to work here, you can work anywhere in the world." And it was true. It was true because the level was super high, and he had so many shows. It was to me Italian that we were we have even now, like, I don't know, I would say 3-4 shows a month. I was working every day for Brian, every day, twice on the Tuesday, twice on the Saturday, 3 times on the Sundays, and that's where boom, you learn, and you, especially if you wrestle with the guys that were working there, like James Mason, Dean Olmark, Joe Redman, and then all the imports. There was Peter Smith, Brody Steele from Canada. There was Gangrel, and I learned so much from these guys because that's England. It's the biggest place for wrestling in Europe.
yeah. Brody Steele, I know him, and I know Gangrel too. Do you have any stories about Gangrel?
Sorry, what?
Do you have any stories you could tell us about Gangrel from
Well, I
touring?
never. Well, I remember he he always been super nice to me. So I never traveled much with him, so I don't have any real stories about him. But I just remember him as a super nice guy. A super nice guy. He always helped me so much, even if I was super green. He gave me so many feedbacks and advices. So I don't know, but I don't have any strange stories.
Yeah, Brody Steele's become an arm wrestler now. He's
Yeah,
stopped wrestling.
Arm wrestler.
So did you have a good look, good build on you?
Thank
It sounds like you're a pretty good wrestler. Did you ever have any contact with WWE or talk to any of their agents?
Yeah, I was in touch with WWE for a few times before COVID, and then I was supposed to do a couple of tryouts a few different times, but then COVID came in and it was canceled. Then was there, was supposed to have another tryout, but then they canceled, and they just did after COVID. They just did a women tryout about Europe. So I never got the chance because again, Europe, it's a sad land. It's not like the US. Like in May, I was I had a chance to be an extra at SmackDown in Lyon in France, and the crazy thing is that for us it's something amazing, in Europe in general. because the thing is, like in the United States, there's so many tapings, TV tapings, right? So they invite the extras, and it's pretty easy. I know many guys from the US, even some Italians that lives there, and they did extras so many times that at some point they just get bored because you're doing so many times and it's always the same. But for us, we don't have, and we don't have many TV tapes and tapings except England. England is a different world, and they have so many amazing talent, and they use them. But Europe, probably the last TV taping was in 2005. So I was lucky to be there. To me, it was an amazing experience because I was we were used as security, and I did a little stuff with Randy Orton, and in SmackDown and Lyon, it was a super full arena. So it was to me, after 20 years, was like I reached a point. At least I was there, and again, I know it's nothing big because it's just a little cameo. It's something little you're doing, but again, for a European wrestler, which we don't have many occasions to do stuff, it was an amazing experience. Amazing experience to be there. But again, I was lucky because during my years, I well, when I started, I was the Red Devil, which it means nothing basically, but for us in Italy, it was cool to have the English name. But then I was traveling in Europe, and some friends, some other wrestlers told me, "Well, your real name is Fabio Ferrari. Why don't you use it? That's great." And I just have it there, but to me, it was just a name. It was normal. So I started using that name. I started working a lot more because then I started working for Brian Dixon, and I started working with this new gimmick of an heel, cocky Italian. It worked. So I had chances to work in Kuwait, Pakistan, Caribbean island, Africa. Um, um, I've been in so many, all over Europe, everywhere, Finland, Estonia, everywhere. So 25 countries is it's a lot for an Italian wrestler. I'm happy about it. And I'm happy that I never worked for free, because nowadays everybody works for free and it fucking sucks. So it's but Italy is growing fast. So there's one guy that is doing pretty well in Japan, Francesco Akira, and he's super young now, and he's in the new Japan Pro Wrestling, and he's doing pretty well. So he's the one.
Yeah, I know some WWE agents watch my channel sometimes. If you were like, say, an agent is watching this or something, who would you recommend as like the top 3 or 4 wrestlers from Italy? If you would say that these guys maybe have a future in WWE or AEW.
Well, if an agent is watching, I'm there.
There you
Well,
go. That's the best answer.
so I'm sure the agents know everybody, because we're in the internet era, and it's everything is for everybody. So they know better than me, because I'm not watching everything. And honestly, I know Italian wrestling, but not very much, because I'm working a lot more in Europe. I'm working a lot more in Germany, in Austria. Um, so I'm not really into Italian wrestling, if not for the FIW shows, which I help run and everything. So, I'm not really following the Italian scene. I know it's growing. I know there's so many more wrestlers than few years ago. Many companies, small companies. Somebody's doing good. Somebody, but like everywhere. It's again, it's just 20 years or so. We need time. The new generations have some guys that did experience, and they can give them advices, and they can train them. I would say properly, but maybe not. Maybe it's always better to go outside. And like I know one guy that went. I know many guys from Italy that came to the US, and Monica, which is my Miss Monica, she's my wife, and she met you actually. She told me before, and she wanted to be there, but she couldn't because of the baby. And but we have a 1 year and a half baby girl. And anyway, she met you at an art. She was training at Harley Race Academy, she met you in 2015 at the camp, and she told me that she found out thanks to you that she could wrestle because there were some issues with the, I can't really remember what the story was,
Yeah,
but there was
licensing issue. I
with
might
IP
vaguely
with the
remember
thing.
now. Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, it had to do with they were saying that people that weren't American couldn't get a license to wrestle in
Yeah, the
Missouri.
license, exactly. It was
Yeah.
something about it, but you came and you had the license, you could take it. So she said, "Oh, I can do it." So she started wrestling basically in the US thanks to you because she did the license. And so, and
That's awesome.
she's really good. Like for in the ladies, for example, in the ladies division, she's really good. Not because she's my wife, but she's really good because she puts so much art into it, so much passion. She left everything. She went to the US. She trained in the Harley Race School when Harley was still alive, and she's the only girl, real Italian girl, that had a match, a WWE Raw against Nia Jax, and she did many tryouts. But I think in general, maybe hopefully some things will gonna change, but it's always about the WWE product, how is it going, and how much they're earning from that particular country. And Italy never really put money into it, gave money to the company. It's not like India, India is great. They needed somebody from India, but they don't really need somebody from Italy. They have Giovanni Vinci with Fabian Eichner. I know him pretty well, when he was in Europe. But I don't know. They don't. Looks like they're not really interested in having an Italian gimmick, because probably the market here is not big enough. But hopefully things will gonna change. Who knows?
You do possibly have, maybe it's Italy and Brazil might be the two places with the best looking women in the world. So I'm surprised they wouldn't try to take more women from Italy. But your point is probably true. They don't make enough money probably from the TV there, and they don't go often enough to need that local person. But Bruno did so well for Madison Square Garden. He got the all-time sellout record, I believe. Like,
Yeah, I saw a video a few days ago and I didn't know it. He sold out Madison Square Garden more times than U2, Billy Joel, Rolling Stones, and Janet Jackson all together. So that's crazy if you think about it, because they're super big um, um, bands and singers. But he sold it out 188 times. He had that super incredible record about being champion for so long, and hopefully nobody will beat it. I don't think nowadays.
they don't even call it a sellout. They call it a sellout now at like 12,000, but when he sold it out, it was like 21,000.
Yeah.
Because I remember the one, I was friends with Billy Graham. The one that he didn't sell out was like 19,000. But today they would have just called that a sellout because they count the tarped off seats sold out. But yeah, that record will never be broken because they don't go there every month anymore either.
Yeah, no. It's, well, times have changed, and even I don't think they will ever have another champion for 7 years. So, back then it was it makes sense because because the Italian, there were so many Italians in that area. WWF was working in that area. Nowadays WWE, it's worldwide, so it's all completely different. But yeah, Bruno did what he did, and he was a really big name.
There's a fan on here that wants to know more about your wife. I'll look up a picture of her for him, but could you tell us some more about her career? What's her name again?
Her name is Miss Monica. Super easy name, so you can find her on Google. And but she had her first tryout when she was 19, and she was super green. She had probably just a little training back then, but she was good looking, so they tried her out. And then, well, as I said, she moved to the US for many times. She did at the Harley Race School, and she wrestled in all over the Midwest and everywhere in the US. I can, yeah, that's the match from Raw that she did against Nia Jax. It's even on YouTube, the match. You can watch it and
Was
whatever.
Nia Jax stiff?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the beginning of Nia Jax, and yeah, she looks like she was a bit stiff, but we're doing
Yeah, I
wrestling,
noticed
so it
now
is what it
that The
is.
Rock is on the board of directors. None of the girls complain about her anymore.
Well, maybe now she got better, or maybe that's the reason. I don't know, but
Oh, I did. Here you go. This is a good picture of her. Aren't you?
yeah,
Aren't you a lucky man? Congratulations.
I know. I'm a lucky man, so it is what it is.
How is the girls wrestling scene there overall? Is there a lot of opponents for her, or does she have to travel just to get good quality opponents?
She have to travel, but in well, ladies wrestling in Europe is not really big. Like it's not wrestling in general, because we have to. It's really difficult because we have to travel a lot. I'm traveling again. I Now that we have the baby, we kind of slowed down a little bit. But years ago, I was working. Well, I always had a job, so I never. Um, you can't live with wrestling in Europe. There's no way that you can live just with wrestling unless you have a contract. Maybe somebody does, but I don't know. I don't really know. Um, but the thing is that you have to travel a lot, and travel costs a lot because you have to fly everywhere. And and nowadays, so I was working the whole week, and I was working every weekend, and my holidays were with Brian Dixon in the UK, doing camps and doing the town shows and whatever. And Monica did the same. She was before in the US, and then she moved in Europe, and then now we're still working. I will say, let's say 2-3 times a month, not more, because again, with the baby and everything, it's kind of difficult, and we kind of slow it down a little bit. But you have to travel a lot to get there, so it's always by plane. And again, wrestling has changed a lot. I don't know if Canada and the US it's the same, but I think everywhere is the same. And nowadays there's so many wrestlers and workers that pay their own travel. um, so it kind of suck because they're burning everything, because there's so many on the other side. So in the promoter side, there's so many fans that out of nowhere, oh, I want to have a company, and boom, they do a company, and it's the shits usually. And they
Yeah, and
bring
now
these
with
guys that go work for free. So I kind of pride myself to that I never work for free, because to me it doesn't make any sense. I was playing basketball before wrestling, and to me was either you get to the A series or no, or do something else. I was playing in the D series, so I was the shits. So I told myself, I'm being honest with myself, I'm the shits. What am I going to do? And I started wrestling. And so I think that, well, the first few years is all right. If you pay your own stuff, you have to pay your dues. That's the business nowadays. That's how it works. So you have to um, uh, let people know you, and to do that, you have to pay for your own your own travel and stuff, and travel and but when you're 10, 15 years in the business and you pay your own travels, there's something wrong about it. I do understand promoters that bring these guys in because somebody are even good, and that's the worst thing. But honestly, it's killing the business, and I'm lucky that I still got booking paid and flights and everything. But again, I don't know if it's the same in Canada or the US, but it's kind of sad nowadays.
I think because it's so easy for people to promote shows, and there's a lot of low quality wrestlers, it's kind of killing the indies here. And now with AEW, it's more expensive than ever to book stars because there's good places to work now. Unless AEW is like sending somebody to your company and paying for them like they do some places. Like it's really expensive to put on successful shows here. And as you said, it's kind of not only has it killed the wrestling quality, but like the fans will come and they'll see the crappy wrestlers and they don't want to go to see indie shows anymore. So it's good that you're still getting good crowds there.
Yeah, where the thing about Italy is that well, first thing first, I think that what makes you the to bring big numbers, you here in Italy, you have to do family shows because there's not many fans that they can feel. Well, other places is different, but here what works is family crowd wrestling. So storytelling, larger than life superstars, and that's what to me it's the basics, it's the fundamentals, and storytelling, psychology is and credible wrestlers that really credible. That's it. I don't we don't care. The family crowd don't care if you have the spot monkey jumping all over the ring with no sense. They don't care. They care more about a good storytelling, good gimmicks, and that's what always worked, honestly. And so that's how we work with FIW. And this past Saturday, we had a show in Riva Ligure, which is a nice little town on the coast in Liguria, close to France. And we had 1,500s, so it was pretty cool. It was a free show, so it was no tickets because it was with the
They
CD
paid the
and whatever.
promotion
But
to come, right?
1,500 still, it's
Yeah.
not bad.
I mean, that's better than AEW's been getting in Texas. Legitimately. That's pretty damn good. Do you tape your events?
Yeah, usually we tape it. We don't really have a. We never put so many shows online, but we're gonna put some. Definitely, the Bruno Sammartino tournament will be online. Hopefully, very soon. We'll see. But yeah, usually we tape it, and because when there's a good crowd, it's always great to see it. But then there's a few companies that are working well in Italy. There's a company in Milan that is doing pretty well, and they run 4 or 5 big shows a year, but they're selling out, and the place is like 800 people. So it's pretty good, and they're paying. It's with the tickets, so 800 is great if they pay. So
Oh yeah, that's great. What would the average ticket price be there? I don't know what it would be in American dollars, but
well,
what would
in
it be?
euros is about from, let's say, around 15, 20 euros. That's the average price.
And as far as your style, what's your style of wrestling?
I would say old school, but to me, again, as I said before, is wrestling is about storytelling, um, connecting with the crowd. When I started, I was I want to do dives, I want to do this, I want to do moonsaults and whatever, because I didn't know shit. But when I was lucky that I was trained by Marty Jones, which is a British legend. He used to wrestle in the World of Sports, which was on Saturday on ITV, and in England was really big, really big. Even the Queen, they said, was going to the show. So, um, and ITV was one of the four channels, so it was a super big stuff. And and again, as I said, Tom LaRuffa is one of the other guy that helped me so much, and is as I said, into storytelling and being credible. And so I work mainly for those companies that still have the fundamentals of wrestling, and they do big numbers with the crowd, because that's what people that are not fans can connect with. You need to tell them a story. They can't watch just a spot monkey match. They don't care. They got lost. The little kids got lost watching them. It's stuff for fans. It's little, you know. So I'm lucky. I'm working a lot in Germany for POW, Power of Wrestling, which is run. Um, there's all these European legends like Chris the Bambi Killer, Michael Kovac, Austrian guys. Michael Kovac is the guy that trained Gunter in the actual WWE champion.
You
And
must have
so these
known
guys
Gunther
are
a
old
bit,
school.
right? Did you know Gunther at all?
Sorry, what?
Did you ever wrestle Gunther?
No, I never.
Okay.
I met him before, probably. I can't remember honestly, but I never worked him. And but yeah, so my style is more into gimmick and solid, credible wrestling. Um, well, I still do some high flying stuff sometimes when it makes sense doing it, but it's not about it. So it's um, I love, again, I love old school shows. I don't really like all those indie spot monkeys shows. It's just my stuff.
Is it true in Italy that you guys take really long lunch breaks? We always hear this has nothing to do with wrestling, but we hear that like it's like a 2 or 3 hour lunch break, and you guys go and actually get a really good rest at lunchtime. Is that true?
Wait, you mean the
Like
lunch
from work,
from after work, the dinner,
like
or
before the I've heard people say like
ah,
here you get like 40 minutes an hour, then you got to go back to work. I've heard that in Italy it's actually like a long lunch break. Is that true on average or?
no. You usually, well, it can be 2 hours some jobs, but yeah, usually it's like 1 hour. But yeah, we take it slow. It depends. In the south, it's more relaxed. In the north, it's more frenetic. It's more hectic. But in general, yes, I would say we like to enjoy our meal. So and then we so yeah, probably that's what you meant. We're not eating like, well, there's many that nowadays is starting to eat really fast, but again, I like my pasta, I like my meat, every time, every meal. So my lunch is about 1 hour and a half.
It must be hard to stay lean there with how good the food is in Italy. Not that I've ever had it, but I've had some authentic, but I've never actually been there, but I hear it's just great.
Well, you have to come here because it's a beautiful country, and you will find great restaurant to eat, and we have so many good lasagna. We have so many stuff that uh, as you said, it's kind of difficult to stay lean. But my wife just cook rice and and chicken, so I'm lucky.
I see in one of your wrestling pictures here you're holding, is that a tennis racket?
Yeah, that's my gimmick. I wanted to have a gimmick like something that I could, because I'm a heel, so that I can use whenever it's So I took this racket because we had in the 60s. It's a pretty old racket from the 60s. Back then we had many famous tennis players. So yeah, it's just part of the gimmick, and it's something I can always use.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like you're just a big Jim Cornette fan or something, or if you had a background in tennis. There's another picture. It's a really good picture there with a newer racket.
Yeah, that was a newer racket because Ryanair and some other companies won't let me in with the racket. So I need to ask everybody. But my racket is a pretty old one. I never be I wasn't a tennis fan, or neither it come from Jim Cornette. It's just something I came up with talking with some friends, and just to have a gimmick that you can always use whenever it's needed, and it's something that help. You don't always have to go for the belt and stuff. You can do different, and you can use that, and it's something you have for the entrance. I also use like to get in the ring with a cigarette, just to be cocky and just doing a little gimmick, and that's it. It kind of worked. So
I can't see them doing this in France or Italy, but they've banned cigarettes from most places in the US or Canada. Can you still like go into arenas with a cigarette there and not get in any trouble? I'm just curious.
well, sometimes nothing ever happened, because the only problem with a cigarette can be that all those alarms get in, and the water will come out, and that will be fun. But it never happened, honestly. Because usually the promoter, I always ask if I can do this, if I can do that. I don't want to get in trouble, so I always asked, can I use the cigarette? Is there any problem? Sometimes they told me, no, you can't, because otherwise the alarm will go on and the water will come out. But it's not. But honestly, if you put the smoke, the thing, in the entrance, you can even smoke a cigarette, because it's kind of the same. But still, whatever. I never got in trouble for this, but I can tell you a nice story where I got in trouble for. I almost got in jail in Kuwait, and that was fun.
Like
Can I go?
Vader actually got in jail in Kuwait, so something like that happened with you.
Ah,
Please share.
no, it was a funnier story, because it was my first time in Kuwait, and I was wrestling against James Mason, which is one of the best wrestler in Europe, and he's from England.
Wasn't he
And
married to Brian Dixon's daughter at one point? Is he still married to Brian Dixon's
no,
daughter?
that's Dean Allmark.
Oh, do you know? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I was wrestling James, and we had this match. Like we said that just go in the ring and do it on the fly. We just had the finish. And what happened was that back then I was doing the full moon spot, which is the other guy does a sunset flip on me, and he exposed my ass, trying to picking me down. He pulled my pants down, and my ass is out. And I used to do that back then, and we never really thought about it. But we were in Kuwait, where you can't do these kind of things. So we did the spot. The crowd laughed, and they loved it, because it's a spot that usually it's a kind of comedy spot, but it always, if it's done in the right place of the match, it can work. But the thing was, when we came back in the locker room, the promoter were mad, like, what happened, I couldn't even understand at first what happened, because to me it was all fine. But and then when they told me, I said, "Oh fuck, I'm an idiot," because we did it like, when you do a match that you did many times and you're on the fly, you just work, and we haven't just didn't thought about it. Anyway, what happened was I had to go back in the ring, take the mic, say sorry to the crowd because the shit happens, and then I was done, and I was lucky that I never got a chance, but almost.
Yeah, you don't think about that kind of stuff.
Sorry, what?
You don't think about that kind of stuff. That's crazy.
No, no, no. You don't think about it. You just realize it afterwards, and you said, "Oh, fuck, I should have think about it." But again, it's a funny story that I have now. So, you know.
Now I notice you have a home gym there. I remember Nydia from Tough Enough telling me she did a tour of Italy, and one of the issues was there wasn't a lot of gyms around that time when she did tours. Is it still like that, or do
Yeah,
you need home gyms?
I have a home gym basically because I started to buy stuff during COVID that I couldn't get out. So I had stuff. I started to buy a few stuff, and I never really. I was a fan. I always been a fan of old school gyms. But when I started my own, and especially now again with the baby, it's so easy to have it in my house. And I just kept, buying stuff during the years, and I have my home gym. So that's one reason. And second, as Nidia said, that's the thing. You have to drive a lot to get to some proper gym, nice gym, and you lose a lot of time because there's not many honestly. So um, I just feel I need to train, so it's my stuff. When I come back from work, I need to train because otherwise I will kill somebody. Just because I love to do it, so I need it. I love to do it. So to me, it's so much better. My place. I can do whatever I wish. I can put my music on. I can put my WrestleMania posters on the walls, and yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
WrestleMania
yes, still the
6,
same.
one of my favorites. That's pretty cool. You got WrestleMania 6 on your wall.
Yeah.
Did you like the Ultimate Warrior?
Well, when I was a kid, I was a big fan because in Italy we never had much wrestling, so everything we knew back then was WWF. Um, there were some newsstands that had some magazines, and I used to buy them, and I knew a little about WCW, Sting, Ric Flair, but honestly, they were just pictures. There was back then no way to watch it, and everything I knew back then was WWF. So I was a big Ultimate Warrior fan because he was big, he was huge, he was getting in the ring with that super fire, super. So I was a fan back then. Yeah, absolutely.
I know that Warrior's final match ended up being in Spain. Did you have anything to do with that or hear who
No,
put that on?
I wasn't involved, but the company that run that show if I remember right, was Tenerife. Is the company I told you before that is the new wrestling, the NWE New Wrestling Evolution, which is again coming back now in October in Naples for a big show. And they basically they were running Italy, then they moved to France when France was pretty big for a few years, and then they moved to Spain and they did this big show with the Ultimate Warrior against Orlando Jordan. I wasn't involved, but it was a big show, and
It was funny that his last match was against Orlando Jordan because he never liked gay people from like all of the interviews that he did. I don't know if you ever saw him going to speeches and stuff, but he ended up having his last match against someone that was gay. So
yeah, it's kind of funny. And again, when I grew up and I heard so many bad stories about the Warrior, kind of lost the magic that it used to be when I was a kid. The worst one is something I heard recently, but the story of the dying kid that was his last dream was to meet the Ultimate Warrior, but he basically left without even doing the picture, and that's the shits. Like,
There's a lot of people
you
that
must
get
be
guilty
you,
of
you
wearing
must be a
those.
prick to do something like that.
Yeah, but who knows what's true and what's not?
Yeah, again, yeah, you're right, absolutely.
Because he does have a lot of motivational videos out there too, and he definitely did some good in his life as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But as far as this big event with Bruno Sammartino's hometown, what can people expect? I know there's probably not that many from watching this that'll see it, but people are going to be interested to hear about it.
Yeah, well, we're gonna do. It's the first edition, so it's not a super big show. This time it will be an international tournament, but just with European guys. Where I will be the representing Italy. Then we have Gianni Valletta from Malta, which is a super heavyweight. Very good in the ring. He just came back from a tour with Dragon Gate in Japan, and he's going back in a few months. Then we have Tom LaRuffa, which again I said before he was in with WWE in NXT as Sylvester Lefort, and then he moved to Impact, where he did a team with Al Snow and as Basil Baraka, and he's in Europe. These two guys are probably one of the best. And then we have Drake Destroyer from Switzerland. We have Nathan Angel from the UK. We have many guys. We have the ladies match, which is we'll have a French girl, Anastasia Bardot, against Miss Monica, which will be representing Italy. We'll have King Danza, Violenzo, so many guys. That Matt Vercetti will be in the show. It's not again. We won't have American guys or super big names, but it's the first edition. We want to try, we want to see, we want to make sure that this event will be like an annual. So hopefully it will go well. We will have some media exposure all over the world. The major will be happy about it. And next year he'll give us, it's always about that. They'll give us more money and we can do a bigger event. So, but
yeah,
again,
I could see people traveling to it in the future if it becomes a yearly thing. I could see all the Bruno fans coming in to celebrate him.
Who knows? It can be in my mind can be something really big. Well, this year will be really nice already because we're gonna have good lights, good good scenography all over. The entrance and everything will be pretty good, which is not common here at least. And the card and the wrestlers are really good for Europe, in Europe. And so again, hopefully it will be a success. We will have many people coming in from the area because especially now it's holidays, so there's many people in that area. And we'll see. Hopefully the plan is to have it as an annual event every year and make it bigger every time, because we just, again, we want to pay tribute to Bruno. It's something we were working on from years now, and we're super proud to run this show, to have this opportunity, this honor, because it is to celebrate basically the biggest wrestler from Italy that we will probably ever have. I would say also in the future, because I'm not seeing somebody going bigger than Bruno. So people will. Again, as I said before, we're gonna make sure we're gonna do some filming of the show, and then we're gonna put it online so everybody can see the show for free, obviously.
Very good. And if there's any matches that are particularly good you want me to post, just send them my way and I'll put them up too.
Thank you very much.
So where can people follow you and your company online if they want to look it up?
Okay, so they can follow, well, the company is FIW, Federazione Italiana Wrestling, on, well, both on all social medias. So Facebook is the one we use the most. We have Instagram, we have YouTube with some matches. And if they want to follow me, I'm Fabio Ferrari. They can find me on Facebook and on YouTube with some matches too. So it will be really appreciated. So, and also Miss Monica, again, my wife, you can follow her on Instagram and Facebook as Miss Monica. So
there you go. And I put some pictures of her up earlier. Anyone that's just tuning in now and wants to know more about his wife, we talked about her for a few minutes earlier. I wish you good luck on the show. Could you close this out with a promo about what's going to happen with you as Fabio Ferrari on the show?
well, what's going to happen is that I will be the uno after Bruno because I want to win the tournament. It will be a great honor to to celebrate Bruno Sammartino. So follow FIW, follow Fabio Ferrari, follow Miss Monica, because this show is gonna be huge, and we're gonna celebrate for the first time ever the biggest Italian professional wrestling ever, Bruno Sammartino. We're super proud of it, and we're gonna make sure it'll be a super event.